Welcome back to the channel, guys. Here to bring you a deck profile for putting here in OP08. So I don't have the alt art, unfortunately, but I'm just going to be using the regular cards. Let's dive into this deck profile. I'm going to split it up into 3 parts. So the first part will be Big Mom Pirates, the second part will be Counter, and the third part will be extras slash sub-ins. So without further ado, let's get into this deck profile. Alright, so the first card I want to talk about, the Searcher Pudding, which is kind of a no-brainer. You want to be able to find your 10-drop Big Moms, your 8-drop Katakuri's, 7-drop Big Moms, smaller Katakuri's, the 6-7, the 9-drop Linlin, the 3-cost Perospero, the 3 Brulee, or if you run even smaller cat, the 2-3, I believe. So this is pretty crucial if you don't have any of those. So let's get into the next essential card. So next staple, we're going to be talking about the Katakuri's, the 6-7. And this one is you may turn 1 card from the top of your life cards face down, add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Really good for ramping. So this one's kind of a no-brainer, 1000 counter, 6-7. It's a nice body, and especially if you can play it on your 3rd turn, it's definitely a good thing. So if you don't have it, use Pudding to search. And let's get into the next card. So the next card I want to talk about is the Perospero. So obviously it's kind of a... This is an option that you can run in this deck. I've seen some people who don't run this, but the Perospero is a good option because 1, it gets a body on field, 2, it's at least a 5000 swing, and 3, you get a search off of it off KO. Obviously, if you go against bottom decking, it's kind of useless, but you can find your pieces if you don't have them on KO, and if you want some early pressure, you play this down. So it's a pretty nice option, and it kind of works as a better pudding. So it's a good searcher, and the difference, obviously, it only searches top 3, whereas pudding does the top 4. So it's something to keep in mind. But usually, most of the time, this is more like a dead card in my hand towards the end of the game and not really using it. So it's also good for a 0 cost counter. So let's get into the next one. All right, with this deck, sprinkling in some defense, I want to just run these Brulees. So it's a blocker, triggers play this card so it doesn't cost anything, whereas like if you played a Sanji, it would actually cost 1 card out of hand. But this is a good trigger. It is really weak and it can be removed fairly easy if you go up against black, but it's another defensive weapon. It could save you if this is your last life, unless you have like a 0 counter or something like that. But this is a good option, especially if it's searchable. If you have 3 Dawn available, you just want to play a Brulee, play a little bit more defensive, you can also do that as well. So it's a good option. So obviously you want to run 10 drop Big Moms if you want to get to your curve on your 4th turn. If everything works out well, you can drop a 10 drop Big Mom, you can gain a life and trash one of their lives, and it's a big body on field. Makes it real difficult, has some pressure they have to take care of. So it's a good option, and it's really devastating if they value their lives. If it goes against black and they trash something that they can just get back to hand, it's kind of unfortunate. But it still adds the pressure you need, and to other leaders who value their lives a little bit more, closely, this is a real dampening effect whenever you first drop this on turn 4. So next card I want to talk about is the 7-drop Big Mom. This card is more situational for me than anything. If I'm not searching for a Katakuri or a 6-7 Katakuri or a 10-drop Big Mom, and this is my only option, obviously I'm going to take it. If I have a 0 counter, it could be good for that. I'll explain why this kind of plays against my playstyle with this deck profile, but this is a big body on field that they have to take care of, and it pressures them in that way, and if they do trash their life, it will pressure them more. But in this meta, I feel like everybody, if you play this card, you're more than likely just going to get healed. But this is a good second option if I don't have any of those. Now let's get to the next card. So we got the new Linlin, which is pretty cool. You may trash 1 card from your hand, add 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards, then add 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less to the top or bottom of your opponent's life card. So you heal and you heal them, but you remove a body off field. I feel this card is a little bit more worth than the 7-drop. Especially because 1, we're healing, 2, we're getting one of their bodies off field. So this card is very crucial to adding some really good pressure and to dominating the field. This card I think is more valuable than than the 7 drop. Obviously it costs more, it's 1,000 higher, but I do run 3 of these because I feel like it's worth it. So let's get to the next card. Next card I want to talk about, I run 2 cats, 2 8 drops. So I have the alt art here, which is super nice, one of my favorite cards. This card is real situational for me, but I can't muster the confidence to take it out of this deck because of 8 drop Moria, 8 drop Rayleigh, you have Isho. There's so many good high cost cards that we can take out and put to life. So for that fact, I can't really take these out. And once the deck is more fleshed out and you see more cards, you'll start to see why this is more like an afterthought than a necessity. So I will more than likely use this to trash with the 9 drop Linlin. But overall, it's still a pretty good card to have just in case you do run into that, which more than likely you will, since Lucci and Starter Deck Luffy and Black Yellow Luffy run Morias. So now we're going to be getting into our counters. This is just a basic 2-3 Sanji 2000k counter, and this is more for being able to be searched by pudding. If this is on life, it's still good. I end up having a lot of 2Ks towards the late game, which makes this really good. You'll see as the deck unfolds how many 2Ks I run and my defense. But I feel like the Sanjis are a really good addition. These are ones that I just added not too long ago because they are searchable by pudding and they're good in hand regardless. Next option would be another searchable card, would be Charlotte Flampe, Big Mom Pirates. So this is obviously good for Pero Sparrow, Charlotte Pudding if you are lacking some counter in hand. Searchable being a 2K, and usability on this one, I would say it's super situational because if I want to go lower on lives and I need cards in hand, I can obviously play this Charlotte Flampe and then play the 9 drop Charlotte Linlin in the same turn, which is really good because I draw cards and I can use one of those that I drew to trash, or I can do it after, it doesn't really matter. But this is a good option. Next card I want to go over would be Beige. So this is kind of a no-brainer. Every yellow deck kind of runs these more often than not, except for Calgara. I've actually seen some lists where some people are actually running Calgara, but Beige and Calgara actually. But it's just a 2K, you know, never want to hard play this, and the trigger is super good. So the trigger would be up to one of your opponent's leader or characters cannot attack during this turn. So if this is one of your last lives, it's obviously really good, along with the 0 counter or Brûlé. But Beige seems to be pretty annoying, and it's kind of the killer in the yellow deck, especially you want to see this in one of your lives. Later is obviously better than earlier. Last, for the counter section, I want to talk about these 0 counters. Not really too much to go over. I was using 4, but I thought 3 was better because I just found I was getting too many stuck in hand, and I'm probably like debating even taking out 1 more. It just really depends on how I'm really feeling about this card, but this is obviously better for the trigger. So if you have 0 life cards, you may add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards, then trash 1 card from hand. But the 0 counter is obviously kind of a no-brainer. So this card is obviously pretty good to use when you want to ramp with Pudding's ability. So choose 1, look at all your opponent's life cards and place them back in the life area in any order. Or you can turn all your life cards face down, which is good for Pudding's ramp, your leader. And it can also be good to pair with a Katakuri if you want to be. Usually if you're going to play both, you're kind of already past the point of using Viola. But it's also good just to see your opponent's life early, and you can flip yours down. So this is a pretty good option, and it's a blocker. Not searchable, but it's a decent option, definitely early game. The next card I want to talk about is Kingdom Come, and the more I play against decks that have higher bodies, and the way I like to play this deck, I like to go down on lives because I know I can just heal with 10 drop Linlin, 9 drop Linlin, 8 drop Katakuri, 7 drop Linlin. So you can gain a bunch of lives with those cards. So going low on lives, and it's a little bit risky, but since I have a lot of 2Ks in hand, I run the risk of, you know, being caught off guard, but it's not really too big of an issue. And this card has really saved me from dealing with big threats and with blockers. So getting rid of them, especially when I can afford it and I already have big bodies. So Usually if I have big bodies on the field, they're not really going after those because I have so much counter in hand. And I usually have more of those, 2Ks in hand, so it's kind of not worth it. They have to don up just attacking them unless they have other bodies, but they'd rather just go for game because they know the longer wait out, the worse it's going to get. So this is definitely a good option. Not a lot of people run these, I've been seeing, but it fits my playstyle and I like having the security of running or of having these. And the last card I want to talk about is 10 drop ace. I only run one because I only have one, and two, it's not really necessary for gaining lives and rushing. It does catch them off guard because one, it's a 10k swing. Two, you gain lives if you're low enough. Me, that I like to go on lives, I could sub in maybe one or two more for the 7 drop Lilin. The only bad thing, it is my whole turn. So that's what kind of stops me from putting more than one. I may do two though. I may take out a 0 counter and put one. It just really depends on how this deck evolves, what I play against, but that's pretty much it. Ace is such a solid card and it's still usable even now in OPO8. Yeah, so some other options that you can run in this deck that obviously came out this set would be that 2-3 Katakuri. As long as they have 6 Dawn, you can play the 6-7 Katakuri. Or if they have 8 Dawn, you could play the 8 drop Katakuri. Or if you're at 10 Dawn and they are at 10 Dawn, you could play the 2 drop from hand, sub in a Katakuri. You have another Katakuri in hand, and you could play that as well. Which adds some pretty good pressure to them because you just added 2 bodies. And you can either, heal them once, heal them twice, but you get characters off the field. You can do a 1-in-1 where you heal and they heal, or you can do 2 heals on your end. So it's very cool that you can do that. That card is pretty nice. You can also do that with the 4-6 Rush Katakuri. This is one I don't really see being run right now because it's a little bit kind of not worth it, but that would be another searchable aspect. You could be a more rush heavy. You could take out maybe a Parasparrow and a 6 drop Katakuri and put 2 of those if you wanted to be a little spicy, maybe even a 7 drop. Another card you can run in here would be a Missile Sunday, where it's just ramp and draw a card, which would be a good option if you're low on cards. But with my deck and my playstyle, I'm usually pretty good on cards towards the end of the game. Another option you could do for ramping would be the Bond Clay, the 4-1, the one that came out EBO1, and that's a really good option if you don't have any of your ramping capabilities. So that's pretty much it from the deck list. If you guys have any suggestions on how this could be tweaked, how this can be improved, pretty curious as to what you guys are running, especially in the meta right now. If you guys did enjoy this style of video and you guys want to see more deck profiles, let us know in the comments down below. We'll see you guys on the next one, and good luck at your locals.